Thank you very much. I'm going to tell you all about what I used to do in Uganda for 8 years. And let me see if I can share. As you can see, Uganda is a landlocked country with a number of countries: South Sudan in the north, Kenya in the east, Tanzania and Rwanda in the south, and Congo in the west. So Uganda is a small country surrounded by a couple of very huge countries. And on the map, you see in the southwest area, name called Kasese. Kasese is the district where I worked for 8 years. So I'm going to tell you a little more about why Uganda was called the Pearl of Africa. Winston Churchill visited Uganda about 100 years ago, and he liked the natural beauty of the country so much that he called the Pearl of Africa. Now, let me tell you that the pearl has lost a lot of its luster and shine. And also the pearl is dented in some cases now, but for many Ugandans, they still talk about it with a lot of pride. That is the Pearl of Africa. Now I'm going to get back to what I want to give you is a profile of Uganda. It is a country of 47 million people. And just imagine that number of people squeezed in the size that is 1/3 of Ontario. So it's very, very crowded. Wherever you go, there are people, people, people. And 50% of the population is under age of 14. So again, wherever you go, there are children talking about you and calling you Mzungu. Mzungu is the term for foreigners. 82% of the population is agriculture. And I had no idea that Uganda has 50 plus ethnic groups. And these groups go back to the tribes. It was a tribal country, and it is still very much a tribal country with 40 languages. And the life expectancy is only 58.5 years compared to 82 years in Uganda. And one statistic that is really big is that in a country like that, there are over 8 million people who are with disabilities. And that is where my work came into being. So I'm going to talk to you now about my work and who I work with. Okay, I work with an organization called Kasese District Union of Persons with Disabilities. Anyway, Kasese District of Union with Disabilities. Kasese, as you saw on the map, is a district in the southwest corner of Uganda. And that district is very much in the hills of Rwenzori Mountains. So little villages are all placed all over the various villages. There are a few of the big cities, but other than that, most of it really is located in the mountain hills. People in Kasese came about 200 years ago from Congo. They are called Bozonko People, and that is the predominant tribe in Kasese. As far as people with disabilities are concerned, they are one of the most marginalized communities in Uganda. In many countries, the same thing. But in Uganda, which is a very poor country to start with, these people are right down at the bottom of the poor. And the reason for that is simple. Most of these people have not gone to school because schools have huge barriers for them. Physical barriers, not enough staff and material, and most important, attitudinal barriers. So most of these people have no education, and without education, they don't have jobs. And as a result, most of the people with disabilities depend on their family and friends for their livelihood. And that sometimes creates a lot of problems, even within families that I have seen. Okay, this organization that I work with is the umbrella organization of all people with disabilities in this Kasese district. And as such, this organization serves the community as best as it can, keeping in mind the hilly villages that are in that district. Okay, so that is about where I work. Now, I want to tell you This is the woman, in fact, who changed my whole idea of Uganda and also my tenure in Uganda. Her name is Meera Ghatrida. She was 35 years old, had polio right from birth. When she came to see me first, she was dragging herself on hands and knees, and it was painful to see her. But when we started talking about it, I asked her, Ghatrida, what is your best wish right now? And she said, if only I can have a vehicle. Because right now I have to depend on other people to drive me from one place to another. So I said, why a vehicle? Now she told me that even with her condition, she had learned some very useful skills of handicrafts, making links, making tailoring, all of that. And she was also teaching that to other people. So she said that I have to depend on other people right now to take me from one place to another. So if I can have a vehicle, so we got this vehicle made for her. Now, I have written about her on my blog, and my two friends in Ottawa, Margie and Phil Bott, read that particular blog and immediately fired an email to me saying that get her whatever she wants and we'll pay for it. So that was just a spark. And when I came back from my first period in Uganda, went back to Ottawa, talked to many of my friends, and everybody thought, well, that was a great idea. And before I even asked, we got donations from people in Ottawa. So that sort of sparked the whole idea of starting a Canadian charity. And that's what I started later on. Okay, let me go to the next slide. We organize ourselves under this banner that disability is not inability. And you will see, I'll share some ideas from some of the people who we have helped, that these people are so able to work and able to work just as well as anybody else. And in fact, they work much harder. And the biggest thing for all of them was that they wanted to be independent. Even within families, when they used to live and depend on family members, sometimes there used to be big conflicts because family members get tired of always looking after them, always carrying them. And I have to tell you that in Uganda, family sizes are quite big. 8 to 12 children is quite common. So in a poor family, if there are 1 or 2 members with disabilities, it creates a huge burden financially on other members of the family, and there isn't. Okay, so here we are. There are a few examples. Now, how can I do this? Anybody has idea how I can, so you can see this picture here?
Well, we're looking at 3 different pictures.
Okay, all right. So these are the 3 children whom we gave tricycles in order that they can go to school. The one on the left is Joan, and she was so happy when she got this tricycle. You can see her beaming with such pride. The guy in the middle, Jonathan, very bright young lad, and when I talked to him, he says he wants to be a lawyer. So he's very keen on going to school. And the girl here on the right, Francis, it was quite a case. Her mother had asked me to make a tricycle that will fit her. So I was taking the tricycle with a few other people to her home. As soon as she saw me coming, she went behind her house and started crying. Her mother went down there and said, what's going on? The reason she was crying was she thought that I was a doctor and I was going to amputate her legs. So finally, we put her on the tricycle and I was trying to make her smile, and there was very faint smile on her face, as you can see, but she was very, very happy when she got the tricycle. So these are some of the children. Now, some enterprising women. There are 2 women here, Margaret. When she got the tricycle, she also arranged with somebody to rent a sewing machine. And now she uses the tricycle to go to people's places, pick up their clothing or say whatever needs to be mended, and she does the sewing. She also does sewing, custom-based clothing articles. Rebecca, she started selling fruits and vegetables in the little carriage behind the tricycle. So again, very independent. They all want to be independent. And these three women, all of them are also with disabilities. And you can see they're beaming with smiles because they are creating some amazing clothing. As you can see on the hanger on the back, there are a lot of clothing items that these women have created. And they are so happy and so proud of themselves. Okay, some more examples. Here is Robina on the left in the red shirt. She had written me a wonderful letter. She said that if I don't get some support, I'm going to have to drop out of the school. So we got her these clutches and she was happy as she can be. The four children in the middle, they all have problem with their eyes. They could not see, and vision impaired students. So we went to their school and gave them this white canes. On the right is an interesting case of Pellucci. Pellucci was married at one time and she got sick, very sick. I believe it was malaria, and she lost her eyesight. When she lost her eyesight, she also lost her husband, who could not live with the idea of having to live with a blind woman. But Pellucci was very enterprising. She took some studies through some other people and learned how to raise chicken. And here she's in your chicken coop. It was a delight for me to go to her house and see when she used to walk with her cane stuck on the ground and the chicks surrounding her. It was just amazing. She used to sell eggs, and also when the chicken grew up, she used to sell chicken. So again, self-sufficient. They all want to be self-sufficient, which was one of the biggest things that came out of this experience. We also took some students from Carleton University to Uganda. These are the students from the School of Industrial Design at Carleton University. And the idea was to expose them to how people with very rudimentary instruments and tools, and as you can see, the workbench right in front, can create excellent products like tricycles. And also, these students had their own projects they also wanted to try in Uganda. Now, the guy in the red shirt, Canada red shirt, is the main welder. His name is Chio. And Chio worked here right out in the open and created some of the excellent tricycles and other products. And when I saw him first time, you won't believe, he was welding something and he had his goggles, not on his eyes, but on his forehead. So I said, Chio, you're going to lose your eyesight. Then he said, oh, sorry, Mr. Navin, I'm going to put this on. So he put it on. And that happened every time I went to see him. He is with his couple of his companions, his assistants who also work with him. And I also want to draw your attention to third person on the left, short man with a cane. His name is Baluku Peter. Peter is the one who runs this organization that I work with. He's an amazing man. It looks like he works for 24 hours. He has this cane as his companion, again, because he has mobility impairment. But he not only handles these organizations and his various demands, but he is also running a commerce college on his own. And in addition, this man is also the deputy mayor of the town of Kasese. So he wears a number of hats and he's always busy. And as we also always said, Peter, it looks like you work for 24 hours. So this is the group that we had at the time. Okay, a few examples. These three women, cross-border traders, they live right across the border from Congo. So every day they carry bags of salt or any other material that is needed in Congo. They go across the border and they sell them and make some profit. On their way back, they bring Coke and other soda bottles and other things that are needed in Uganda, sell them to Uganda merchants and again make profits. Now these women, hardworking women, they go across the border about 5-6 times a day. And every time they make profit. In fact, some of these women make more profit, more money than their husbands. And they have also started having their own homes now. So it's a very lucrative business for them to go across the border. On the big picture that you see here on the right, again, these are all women with disabilities. They are working hard at a cooperative garden. And the products are then distributed among them, all of them, and whatever is left over, they sell it in the marketplace. Beautiful, beautiful garden up on the hill. On the left side bottom, you see a guy, his name is Edgar, and he has a solar panel attached to his tricycle. This was a great idea given to us by one of the Carleton students. And he said, why not we just put a solar panel? And their solar panel is used to recharge batteries of mobile phones. Now, in Uganda, people may have nothing else, but everybody has a mobile phone. And in little villages up in the hill, it's very difficult for them to get their phones recharged. So here is an idea. And this was a very lucrative business, not only for Edgar, but a number of other people who also had tricycles with solar panels. So you can see how the tricycles and other vehicles are making life so much easier for people with disabilities. Okay, this is my last slide. And I said different strokes of different folks. I'll start with the right. In Uganda, when you buy a newspaper, all newspapers are stapled. So I was quite curious, and I asked my newspaper vendor, and he said, well, what used to happen that some people used to come to our stalls, they will take a newspaper, read it all, and return it back without buying it. So to stop these people, all newspapers when you buy, they are stapled. Gap in teeth for beauty. I was shocked. In fact, when I saw that and I read an article on Valentine's Day newspaper in Uganda, that gap in teeth is considered a sign of beauty of many young women in Uganda. In fact, many of them deliberately make that one of the tooth, they take it out, either upper tooth or lower tooth, but they love that if the one tooth is out, they are more beautiful. So again, their idea of beauty is different. Grasshoppers. I had never thought that grasshoppers can also be a diet. In Uganda, at a certain time of the year, when there are a lot of grasshoppers, they fry these grasshoppers and eat them as snacks. In fact, at the office where I used to work, some of the young women used to bring baskets full of grasshoppers. They offered me some, but I just could not get myself to eat a grasshopper. Witchcraft is still very popular in Uganda, and especially in smaller villages where they don't have doctors or medical facilities, these witch doctors thrive. Finally, matuke is the most favorite dish for Ugandans to eat because there are lots of bananas. They take green bananas, mash them, and provide them, just like we have mashed potatoes, they have mashed bananas. And these mashed bananas are eaten with a lot of sauces and things. And for Ugandans, this is one of the most popular dishes that they eat. Now, let me come to unique dowry system. My friend Robert, whom I met at the internet cafe in 2010, he was a bachelor when I met him. So once we got to know each other, I asked him, Robert, aren't you thinking of getting married? He said, Navin, I can't get married. I said, why not? He said, I can't buy 12 goats. So what does 12 goats have to do with your marriage? He said, well, if I want to get married, I have to provide 10 goats to the bride's family. And that's how they will know that I'm able to look after my bride. Now, just before his, this was a ceremony called introduction ceremony, more like engagement ceremony. He had these 12 goats, and we had to go up the hill to the bride's home, very, very steep hill. So here we go with 12 goats in tow, and a lot of other things that the bride's family had also asked. For example, they had asked for 1 million Uganda shillings and a suit for the bride's father. So everything. The only thing was that Robert could not go with us. That was their tradition. He had to stay down in the village. And so we all went up in at the home of the bride, way up in the hill with 12 goats in tow. And the idea was that it's not only the goats, but goats have to go from the front door of the house all the way to the back. So here you can see some of the goats are being herded down to the back of the house. So this is the dowry system. Now, I was used to dowry system in India, where it works the other way around, where it's the bride's family who gives dowry to the groom's family. Here, it is quite reversed, but it's a very well entrenched system, tradition in this part of Uganda. Well, folks, this is my presentation. If you have any questions, I would like to also talk to you more about Uganda's women, what's happening with them, and also some of the other situations, other traditions, other uses that they make. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone that try to keep the questions kind of short, just because we have a lot on our agenda today. So any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Virginia.
One question, the ladies that go back and forth over the border to the Congo, are there any issues between the two countries?
No. That part of Congo, we have no issue at all. In fact, I have also gone to Congo border, cross the border, and there is no real issue at all. In fact, there is quite a bit peaceful relationship there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
A question.
Benito?
Yes, for the tricycles, I noticed that another charity groups provides bicycles, normal bicycles to another group of people, but they discovered that they were selling the bicycles for profit. Like some families say, oh, I will take the bicycle of my son because I would prefer to sell it than him to have it. So do you notice something like that in these cases with these special tricycles?
Well, I think the tricycles were made because these people they had mobility impairment. They could not walk. So the tricycles have pedals in the front. So they used to do the pedals by hand and also steer at the same time. And that made it very easy, but there was no other issue that I can think of, or it did not come to light for me at all. Now, sometimes because of the hilly villages they have to go through, some tricycles broke down quite easily on rough roads. In some places, there are no roads at all. So we had to again have the tricycle maker either repair them, or if they are not repairable, we had to replace the tricycles.
I see.
And
very
Emma,
nice, very nice. Enjoy the presentation. Very nice.
Beautiful.
Thank
Any
you.
last questions?
Emma?
Hema?
That was a really good presentation. My question is, I was born in Kenya and we left Kenya when I was very, very young.
Okay.
But we still have family in Kenya, and I always hear how it's not safe. Is it safe for people in Uganda, and especially people with disabilities, to be able to work and to conduct a normal life? Is it safe for them?
Yeah. Uganda was also not very safe.
Mhm.
But what had happened that in the last 30 years, the current president, Yoweri Museveni, has basically conquered all the rivals, because Uganda was fighting. Tribes are used to fight with each other. And when they fight, they used to take kids away from families and abuse them. And they also used to terrorize the population. But now, one thing is that there is a lot of peace in Uganda that way, internal peace. At the same time, the current president, who has been in power since '86, has a vast majority of people in the parliament, and they have passed a legislation and made him president for life. This is typical African democracy. In many African countries, you see people who become president by election, they assume power and they want to will power absolutely. And this guy, Museveni, he holds elections every 5 years, but election time, he imprisons opposition leaders. Sometimes they were even killed. But people tolerate him because he has brought peace to Uganda. Uganda was not a peaceful country before that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Any more questions? Do you have any last questions? No, it sounds like there isn't. Karen, would you like to thank our speaker?
Yes, Navin, that was an excellent presentation and very informative on a couple of fronts. About Uganda, lots of very interesting information, and particularly about people who are living with disabilities and how we could possibly help as well. But also what I think is very important is how much it demonstrated what a true Rotarian you are. You have a wonderful heart, and we have been so lucky to have you join us here in Toronto East, and that was demonstrated right from the start. But your presentation today really highlighted what a great heart you have. So thank you very much, Navin, for helping us.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you.
Dude, that was awesome. Thank you very much.